You're listening to the Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast. This episode is titled Navigating Economic Recession and Anxiety, Part 2. I know that a lot of you are dealing with a lot of fear around the uncertainty in the economy, what's happening in the world, inflation, just different economic factors and variables. And the last episode and this episode, my objective is to help you eliminate all of the fear and anxiety that you may have been dealing with. And in this episode, I want to show you how I learned many years ago to eliminate any fear or anxiety around money. So if you'd like to learn how to eliminate all fear and anxiety around money, or basically anything in your life, keep listening. Hi, I'm Jim Fortin, and you're about to start transforming your life from the inside out with this podcast. I'm widely considered the leader in subconscious transformation, and I've coached super achievers all around the world for over 25 years. Here, you're going to find no rah-rah motivation and no hype, because this podcast is a combination of brain science, transformational psychology, and ancient wisdom all rolled into one to take your life to levels you've never thought possible. If you're wanting a lot more in life, to feel better, to heal, to have peace of mind, to feel powerful and alive, and to bring more abundance and prosperity into your life, then this podcast is for you, because you're going to start learning how to master your mind and evolve your consciousness. And when you do that, anything you want then becomes possible for you. I'm glad you're here. You know, all the fear and anxiety in the world, I think back to the year was 2001, and I was talking to my brother-in-law, Don Javier, and we were talking about a spiritual journey we were going to go to Machu Picchu in Peru. And he said something to me that I wrote down in the journal that's been foundational for me for the past 25 years, or they're about 25 years. He said, you can't do anything without peace of mind. Now, when it comes to money, think about that. Think about when you have peace of mind, how easy it is for you to spend money, invest money, do different things with money, and notice there's not any fear or worry around it. Now, contrast that with when you are worried about money and look at how hard and how challenging it is to spend and invest money. And the reason it's hard is because you don't have any peace of mind about the money. So I learned many years ago, which is, I've shared it before, but here in this episode, you're probably going to hear some things I've said before, but I know that when you hear them in a different sequence, in a different context, I know they have different meaning to you. So in this episode, maybe in the way that I put it together, it will be a little bit different context for you and will make more sense to you, and will be easier for you to eliminate any fear that you might have around money or any anxiety that you might have around money. Because candidly, I can relate. I grew up poor, and I definitely know what it's like to have fear about money. It doesn't pertain to me this day and age. I don't get into it. And the main reason, one of the reasons, is I have money, but even if I didn't have money, I still wouldn't get into it and I still wouldn't worry about it. And I'll explain how you can do the same thing in this episode. So many years ago, when Don Javier taught me that, I started learning ways to experience and to think about money differently. So in this episode, I want to ask you a lot of questions. And a question I have for you is, what's your fear? What's the anxiety all about? Think about that. What is the fear and what is the anxiety about? Also, another question is, this fear and anxiety that I have, what does it say about me? Now, a little tough love for some people listening. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and it may make more sense in this context. I attract, which is my vibe, I attract mostly spiritualists, people that to all degrees, from the New Agers to the woo-woo to the solidly spiritually mature. And I'm not saying the woo-woo people aren't mature. I'm just saying I attract the whole gamut. The people saying, I want to read your aura. Let me read tarot for you. I'm going to read your Akashic records. All these kinds of things. And by the way, I partake of none of that because the only person that I work with is my brother-in-law, the shaman and sorcerer, Don Javier. But the question is, what does all this fear and anxiety say about you as a spiritualist? Let me give you an example. A good friend of mine, I was talking to a couple of days ago, and we talk about once a week. He's in the midst of getting a divorce right now. Now, if you ask me, is the guy a spiritualist? I would say definitely the guy is a spiritualist. I mean, his whole life, in terms of at least observation, is about spirituality. He's in the process of getting a divorce. And he even called me last night and said, I don't know which attorney I should pick. I don't know what I should pick. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know about this. Is this kind of divorce better than that kind of divorce? Meaning one that involved attorneys versus one that didn't. And he's extremely, extremely consumed in his fear, worry, and anxiety. But not only that, he's also into a great deal of his self-pity. There are millions of people that have been through divorce. You will live, I promise, unless your partner shoots you, you will live. But many people get into their self-pity about it, meaning poor me, poor me, poor me, oh no, changes are happening, I'm so sad, I'm so sad, I'm so sad. Those are all normal emotions, and I'm not saying not to have them. I'm just saying don't get caught in them, and is getting caught in them. So I just say that because you may see yourself doing that at certain places in your own life. But for the purpose of this episode, the guy would define and identify himself as a spiritualist, yet he is literally consumed with fear, worry, and anxiety about the divorce, and to a large degree, the financial aspects of the divorce. When I started this episode, I said you can use here whether it be money, and that's what most people will probably use it for. But the paradigms I'm going to share with you, you can use for anything in your life. And again, my purpose is to, so to speak, dislodge you from all the fear and worry that controls so many of you. And again, for the second time in fairness, I can relate. I grew up poor. I know what it's like not to have money. But I look at my life now, and if I didn't have money today, it wouldn't be the same thing as me not having money back when I was in my 20s. Why? Because I'm a different person. Now, where I'm going and the foundation of this episode is my friend that's getting a divorce, that's into the fear, the worry, and the anxiety. If you ask him if he understood spirituality, he would probably tell you resoundingly, yes, I do. But I said maybe even the last episode or the one before, there's a difference between understanding the path and perhaps even knowing the path and walking the path. Now, if you're walking the path of a spiritualist, what does that mean? Think about that. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that you have a gentle curiosity about spirituality. It doesn't mean that you find it entertaining. It means that you are walking the path of a spiritualist. That means that you would be, and I'm going to use this word, I use it a lot, be a spiritualist. So therefore, what does it mean to be a spiritualist? That means to be of spiritual mind, awareness, essence. Think about that, spiritual essence. And that's where I'm going to go in this episode. Do you think that the spiritual aspects of you, like your soul, do you think your soul really gives a shit about money? Simple question. I'm moving a little slowly here, or slower, not slowly, but slower. Think about that question. Do you think your spirit gives a shit about money? No, it doesn't. So the question is, if you are getting into all of your fear and your worry and your anxiety about money, are you then living in spirit and in spiritual mind and spiritual essence and spiritual consciousness? Or are you living from the brain-based 3D ego? Now, the disconnect here for a lot of people is they will say, oh, yeah, I'm a spiritualist. Oh, shit, let me worry about my visa bill. Let me worry about my mortgage payment. Let me worry about this. Let me worry about that. Well, the two aren't compatible. You can entertain both. You can think you're both, but in reality, you're not being both. So you have to ask yourself, where do I want to be from? Meaning, where do you want your being to be driven from? Do you want your being to be driven from fear and 3D ego? Or do you want your being and your essence to be driven from and by spiritual awareness and knowing the truth, which I'll talk about in just a moment, the truth of your power? And the Master Thought Formula, I do say in there that fear is insecure thinking. Fear is insecure thinking. Think about that again. Think about it. Ponder. Fear is insecure thinking, because when you are in fear about money, what are you really saying? What you're really saying is this. I'm going to paraphrase. I am a finite, extremely limited, very weak being. I don't have the capacity. My bank account is empty. Even though I'm the one who created the money initially to be in the bank account, I don't have the capacity because I'm living from a very limited perspective and model of reality. I don't have the capacity to be the creator of more prosperity, more abundance, more money, all the things that many people aspire to and they want. Okay, I want to segue from the episode for just one moment, and I want to ask you, where were you most stuck in 2023? What things held you back the most? When I ask people, why they're not getting what they want in life, people often say, well, I was stuck with XYZ, or, and this may resonate with you, I feel stuck. If you're feeling stuck, one question I want you to ask yourself is, what is it costing me? What is it costing me to not resolve this and to battle being stuck? And when you add that up, whether it's money and especially in business, but in your health and your relationships, when you add that up, it's extremely costly to be stuck in life. Now, all this being said, I created a new challenge. I created it last year. Many thousands of people have gone through it, and it's called the Get Unstuck Challenge. Interesting, the name's all about getting unstuck. Now, in this challenge, it's a 9-day challenge, and I walk you through at a very profound, at a very spiritual, level, and even at a cosmic level. I walk you through who and how you're being as a being, meaning your presence on the planet. And when you understand that, when you understand the nature of you at a very deep level, now you might have heard me say be to have before, and that's more about 3D reality. Who do you have to be so you can do, so you can have? But I'm talking, what does it mean to be? And then what is that power associated with that? When you understand that, you automatically get unstuck in life. This program, never offered it before to you guys. We're offering it now. I don't think we've offered it to the podcast and an ad. Maybe we have, maybe we have. I don't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter because we haven't offered it a lot if we have. but we're offering the Get Unstuck Challenge again. It's only $97. Thousands of people have been through it and they rave about the results they're getting. And I know that you will do the same thing. So again, ponder the question, what does it cost me? What am I giving up? What peace of mind? What happiness? What money? What relationships am I giving up in life because I am stuck in my own crap? Now, as you're thinking about that, click the link, go to tcp.jimfortin.com/unstuck. Again, and we'll drop the link in the show notes, tcp.jimfortin.com/unstuck. Download the program, you get started right away, and your life will start changing dramatically. When you apply what you're learning in that program, your life will start changing in very dramatic ways, very, very quickly. And as a matter of fact, in the next 9 days. Okay, back to the episode. But a question for you. Ponder this. Please, where do you think money comes from? Where do you think money comes from? Now, of course, the ostensible and practical answer is, well, shit. In the United States, it comes from the printing presses at the Federal Reserve. Okay. And there's a whole different podcast I could go into here about who owns the Federal Reserve. And literally, member banks, private banks are the ones that own the Federal Reserve, not the U.S. government. And private banks are controlled by private people. And private people actually own the mechanisms that make your money. Follow that rabbit trail and see where it leads you. Okay, so looking at money, where do you think it comes from? Now let's go beyond the Federal Reserve. Let's go beyond the printing presses. Where do you think it comes from? Money comes from one place and one place only, and that's where everything comes from. And I'll say more about, actually, I'll get to that in just a moment. Before I get there, do you truly believe that money gives you security? Think about that one. Not at face value, but think about it. See, many people get into fear about money because money for many of us is a survival mechanism, and we are literally wired to survive. So we see money as a representation of that survival. It's a survival mechanism for us. And then we automatically think that money is security. And like I said on the recent podcast, ask Kobe Bryant what he thinks about money and security. You know, he left the planet in a helicopter crash, I think, 2 years ago. How about this one? Many years ago, the famous actor, actually, we had mutual friends. His girlfriend was a very good friend of mine, though I don't know any of his movies, Paul Walker. And Paul Walker left the planet when he was 40, rich, good-looking, famous. Do you think money represented security to him? Well, just like these people left the planet, and I know that we can listen to this cerebrally, but just like these people left the planet, money is no longer of value to them. It's no longer freaking security. Money is not security. Money is a tool. It's an asset. It's something to be used while you're on the planet. But many of us think that money is security. And so we cling to that because, again, survival is built into the brain. So we cling to that. Money is not, for effect, I'm going to say, money is not fucking security. That's an illusion. And that illusion is a lie that keeps you trapped. All of your worry about money doesn't come from your soul. It doesn't come from your spirit. It comes from your 3D physical experience and identity on the planet. It comes from your brain because there's a part of your brain, the oldest part of the brain called the reptilian part of the brain, responsible for your survival. But in that part of the brain, there's also the striatum and other brain mechanisms that are responsible for habit creation. So many of you, maybe you have, I did many years ago, you've learned to worry about money and you attribute it to survival. And mainly it's not survival for most of us, it's attachment. Because, for example, if you lose your Visa card, I'm just thinking myself 20 years ago, if you lose your Visa card and you lose your credit, that's not really a matter of survival. That's a matter of convenience because you can live without a Visa or a MasterCard or an Amex or whatever many people do. Millions do, if not a large majority of the planet. But we attribute survival mechanism to money, and then we cling to money like it's oxygen. And it's not that. But here's where I was going. If you are in any fear or worry or anxiety about not having money or losing money or the state of the economy, that's not your soul, that's your brain. And that's your brain working from survival mechanism MO. And it's not you. It's not real. It's shit you make up in your mind. So ask yourself, what approach do I work from? I'm asking you listening right now, ask yourself this question. What approach do I work from relative to money? Do I work from, I know myself as soul. I know myself as a creator. That's one approach. Or another approach would be, oh, worry, fear, anxiety. I need money, I need money, I need money, which is all 3D ego. It's a very telling answer for a lot of people. And by the way, third time, I've been there. I think back to another friend of mine who is a multimillionaire. I don't know what he made last year. We're good friends. I could ask him. He probably made $5 million last year. And a couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, he was hanging out with my brother-in-law, Don Javier, and I. And he was talking about buying a house that he wanted to buy. And he said that he put in an offer and he kind of white knuckled the offer, meaning he was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? And back then the house was like $3 million. I mean, his home now is probably $4 million. But back then he worried about the money aspect of it. And he goes, I really, really, really want that home, but I have a whole lot of worry around it about putting in the offer and money and all these kind of things. Don Javier was standing across the kitchen, and what he said very flippantly is all of your fear and worry is the reason that you lost it. But something that Don Javier said was a good lesson for me as well. You've heard of the Socratic method. So what? And many years ago, because Don Javier said to this person, he said, so you buy the house, you lose the house. So what? And then we get into all of our ego crap. Well, this and that, and I got to move, and I'm embarrassed, and I'm ashamed, and I'm a failure. And now where am I going to live, and all these kind of things. And he said something that I know you've heard before. I'd heard it before, but it just hit me in a different way when I heard it. He said, if you created it once and you lose it, you simply recreate it. And that's the Socratic method that I use, which is where I'm going here, is so what? And that's surrender. But that's surrendering to the control that money has over you. Because for many of you guys, money controls you. If you're worried about money in any way or not having it, whether or not you like it, whether or not you want to agree, money controls your butt. You think about that. Money controls you. And this was about, I guess, 4 years ago when this happened, maybe even 5. But it was a liberation for me because I've made millions of dollars, tens of millions in the last, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years. And I don't think anyone wants to make a lot of money or be financially sound and then lose it. But this day and age, I'm literally of the opinion of, so what? If I lost my millions, not my first choice, but hey, so what? I made it once, I'll make it again. And when we go to that place, so what? And we just follow that thread back, that is a place of surrender. Because money doesn't control you at that point. Think about that. That is a place of surrender. Because what I've learned is if we're afraid to lose something, and I used to attribute this to marriage when I would coach people, if we're afraid to lose a relationship, that relationship then controls us. And I'm not telling any of you to just, not be afraid to lose your relationship and just toss it away. But what I'm saying is when we're afraid to walk away from somebody, that person controls us even though we don't recognize it. Same thing applies to money. When you're afraid not to have money, money owns your ass. Money controls you. And then on top of that, it's vicious because it keeps you in the Venus flytrap of the money. Think about that. A Venus flytrap, a fly can't get out of it. I was going to say nothing, but of course that's not true, but a fly can't get out of it. So when money owns you, it becomes your Venus flytrap, and you can't get out of that trap, and you spend your entire consciousness and thinking and time trying to get out of that trap. But let me take you to another higher level here. Where does money come from? Think about that. But let's go back even further. Where does everything come from in the universe? Where? From source, consciousness, source energy. Everything in the universe, in the galaxy, in your body, in your home, in your life, comes from the Creator, which, by the way, you are part of the Creator. An example I've used before is go to the ocean, take an eyedropper. You take an eyedropper of water and you have it chemically analyzed. It has the same chemical composition as the water in the ocean. That little bitty dropper, one little drop, has the same composition as the water in the ocean. You have the same composition as the Creator that created you, that created everything. You are the Creator. Money comes from the universe, the Creator, consciousness. And the physical body, you're simply the medium for the Creator. You are the medium for the money. And that is the truth. And when you own that truth, literally, you own that truth and you absorb it, money no longer can control you because you recognize there's no frickin' reason to be afraid of not having money because you're the Creator. You are a Creator. You are the same source as all creation on the planet. And because you are of the same source as all creation, and all creation came from the Creator, you can create. You can create as much as you want, or what many of you do, as little as you want. For 35 years of my life, I created as little, I'm laughing, as little as I wanted. I mean, fuck, I struggled with money for decades because I chased it from the 3D ego. And these are all things that I picked up over the years working with a shaman, and then of course myself being in the world and, observing myself and my former fear. I don't have any fears about this. I don't have any fears about money. But it can be taken away. We all know it, like anything can be taken away from you. We don't ever think about that, but so can your money, which people cling to. So, again, I want to repeat this. Money comes from the universe. You are a medium for the money. You're not the Creator. You are the medium that is the attractor of the energy. One of my good friends wanted to send me $10,000 for something I did for him. I didn't ask him for it, but he said, hey, I want to send you $10,000 in energy. And he makes hundreds of millions of dollars per year, and he understands that everything is energy. And we have to understand that because when we're trapped in the 3D ego, that's where all the fear is. So it's a lie. It's a lie that you are the manifester. You are the Creator. Now, let me explain that. You are, meaning your physical body and your physical experience is, and you're the one that you're the medium for the money, But you don't create the money. The money was on the planet before you ever showed up on this planet, ever. You don't create the money. You're the medium for it. But all the fear that you have, the fear, the worry, and the anxiety, that is a lie. That is a lie. Think about that. That is a lie. The lie is money's hard to make. The lie is the economy is bad. Even though if it is, it doesn't matter if you buy into the, are you buying into the lie? The lie is I'm going to lose everything and then I'm going to be fucked up and people are going to laugh at me and all that. No. You are of source and you have to own that. You are of source. That's why I've said on probably a half a dozen episodes, this is why it's vital to know yourself as God. When you know yourself as God, however you define that, divine energy, however, do you think God sits around and freaking worries about how he's going to pay his Amex bill? No, he doesn't. So let's talk about the fear for a moment, okay? It's brain-based. Your fear is brain-based, habit-based survival mechanism. Now, what's happened for most of us over time is we have habituated fear. Habituated fear. So the brain automatically, boom, just like that, goes into fear, and we live in the fear. We have to rehabituate the brain, and we're going to do that through our self-talk. So I'm going to share with you my personal saying that I learned to say to myself many years ago. You may want to use it, you may not, but it helped me dramatically. And I'm telling you right now, I don't get into fear. And of course, I have money, but it doesn't mean I'm going to get to keep it in this lifetime. It doesn't mean something would happen or might happen, or who knows? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm okay with anything that happens tomorrow, whatever it might be. And the reason why, because, hey, I attracted it once, I'll attract it again. I was being it once, I will be it again, plain and simple. But here's a phrase that I learned to say to myself, and I would encourage you to do the same, that when fear would creep up on me, this is exactly what I would say. And I said it over and over and over and over and over and over and over with repetition. Here it is. So when the fear would hit and I would worry about money, I would say, wait. All of this is made up and it's a creation in my mind. Stop. All of this is made up and it's a creation in my mind. Stop. All of this is made up and it is a creation in my mind. It is not real. It is made up. And that's the whole sentence. All of this is made up and it is a creation of my mind. It is not real. It is made up. And then in that moment, I would imagine it as true because it is true. You can't argue with this. There's no fucking way you can argue with me and say, Jim, no, I don't make that up in my mind. Well, who else makes it up in your mind? You make it up in your mind. All of your fear and worry, boom, starts in the brain, which is habituated. Then you start talking to yourself about it, which is mental, which is mind. And then you're the one creating the fear in your mind and perpetuating it. But it's not real. Why? Because you're making it up. Hopefully that makes sense. You're making it up. So what you want to do is you want to use repetition to retrain your brain. Now, anytime the fear sets in, simply stop and say to yourself, wait, all of this is not real. However you want, you can take my words and, massage them to a way that works for you. All of this is made up and it's all a creation of my mind. It's not real and it's made up. When you do that, try it right after this episode. Next time any fear sets in, and notice how easy it is, at least momentarily. That's all I want you to notice. Momentarily, how easy it is to shake loose of the fear when you move your attention to what I just shared with you. Why? because you can't hang on to the fear when you recognize the fear is a lie. And the truth is that you're the one making it up. Money is not finite. When you recognize the truth of what I'm sharing with you, you recognize the truth of like you are the dropper of water out of the ocean. That is power. Now, how I cap this off is what I say to myself once, which it isn't, I don't have to use it anymore. So I'm sorry to be, hopefully that doesn't come across as arrogant, because trust me when I tell you, I was a person that would use this damn phrase all day long many years ago. But what I would do when the fear set in, boom, I would stop, wait. You know what? All this is made up in my mind, and it's a creation of my mind. It's not real, and I make it up. Now, next step I'm sharing with you listening. I said, and I'm going to beat on my desk. I owned it. I felt it. You have to do the same. I am the power and presence of the universe. I am the power and presence of the universe. And what I am telling you, droplet of water again, is 100% true. You are the power and presence of the universe. You are the nature of the universe, whether or not you want to believe it or not. And when you know that you're the power and presence of the universe, now you're starting to know yourself as soul. And not only that, you're not telling a lie anymore about this creation about money being limited. Now you're telling the truth. Try this out. I'm really curious. I know that, and I can be a tough cookie. It takes me, not anymore, but years ago, man, I'd be the doubting Thomas. That ain't going to work. Ah, shit, that's that. Blah. That was me years ago. Now I try things out, and I know with repetition, as long as I keep doing something, it becomes my truth and my reality. So use what I gave you there. I'll repeat one last time. Anytime fear sets in, stop, wait, whichever you prefer. All of this is made up, and it's a creation of my mind. It is not real. I made it up. Then, boom, shift your energy. Feel it. You must feel it. I am the power and the presence of the universe, and that is the truth. I am the power and presence of the universe, and that is the truth. Notice how your feelings and your fear shifts automatically, and it will shift automatically. Even if it shifts for a very brief second, that doesn't matter, because that very brief second, you've just taught yourself that guess what? There's some truth to what Jim told me. I am the power and the presence of the universe. Your transformational takeaway in this episode is, I am the power and presence of the universe. And I'm going to sideswipe you a little bit here. Anytime you worry about money, even 1%, anytime you worry about money, in that moment, money controls you and money is your master. Are you comfortable with money being your master? So you have a choice. Fear and worry and money being your master, or accepting the truth that you are the power, the presence, and the presence of the universe. It's up to you. Okay, thanks for listening, and I will catch you over on another episode. Stay well. Bye-bye.